All right. The first thing you need to make sure is that you are using my template, the final Drumbeat template. The only thing I've included is a floor, but you also have render settings such as I've saved it as an AVI movie, and you're also making a HD high definition at 24 frames per second. So I'm going to close that. You shouldn't have to change any of that stuff. Okay, what are you going to animate? I really am not picky about what you animate, just that you animate one object at least 2 different ways. 2 different animations should be applied to one object. So I'm going to do that for you. Let's start with a sphere. And it's going to be different than probably what you're going to see in the next video, because I'm making these a little out of order, and I'm just kind of bored of the old diamond shape I used. I've got this sphere. And I'm going to lay a material. I'm going to create a material for the floor. First of all, to get that out of the way, we'll do like a seeking kind of a nice blue. We'll drag this on the floor. Okay. Remember, in my sphere shape, I want to see the lines. So we're going to go into the display menu and choose garage shading with lines. And I can grab my sphere and move it up. If I render this, you can see Cinema 4D does a pretty good job at rounding out this shape. I'm going to click in this window to get it back. I don't want that rounded shape. I want kind of a low poly style, which is going to show me individual polygons. Remember, we can change those polygons by turning down the segments. That's up. Let's go down. So I'm going to do an 18-sided sphere. And yeah, so let's look at it now. I'll render this now. Still very, very smooth. Okay. To get rid of that smoothiness, I'm going to click on these 2 dots here. These dots are called the Phong tag. The Phong tag is responsible for smoothing things. Now, when I play this, oh, interesting. Let's add a light. Let's see. Is my knowledge of the Phong tag interesting? Oh, render perfect. Let's uncheck that. Interesting. So yeah, there is a render perfect option, which I did not know about. I'm going to get rid of that light. And let's try that again. Okay, cool. So yeah, I got this nice little globe. Let's do the familiar first. So the first thing I'm going to do is make an explosion. These are your primitive shapes. The deformers are under here, the bend option here. Looks like a bend. We're going to do an explosion. And remember, I'm going to turn up my strength of the explosion. Oh, nothing's happening. I need to create that parent-child relationship. We're going to drag explosion onto sphere. And then we'll turn the strength up. Remember, I like randomness to go down. So that'll be fun. We'll do N size, make it larger. So I'll have it blow up like this. Kind of cool. I'll go to the biggest point, which will be 28%. I'm going to change my camera angle a bit so I can see better. And it looks like it's at 30%. So make sure that you're at the middle point in your timeline, and that is frame 16. And then you'll make a keyframe for strength. That tells Cinema 4D at this point, frame 16, to blow this up to 30%. I'm going to drag this over to the left, and we'll turn this value down to 0, and then check my keyframe to make it red again. Boom. That's cool. Now we'll do the same thing at the end. We'll go to the 31st frame. So it's frame 31, but because we're starting at 0, it's actually frame 32. I'm going to turn this strength down and then update the keyframe. So I've currently got... Oh, whoops, I rendered the frame. I need to actually hit play here. Nice, and that is going great. So we've all already done this one animation. Now let's make a second animation. I think the easiest thing is to do like a twist, which you saw in my other example. So I'll give you a couple ideas here. Let's start with a twist. Here we go. We're going to drag twist to sphere. And then in this case, there's this fit to parent option that will be very helpful. So we're going to say fit to parent. And now, you know, I'll probably need to make it bigger. I'm going to go into scale. So I'll hit the T key and drag up. Because of the explosion, I probably need to make this bigger. So I want to make sure everything's like fitting inside that twist. If we scrub back here, okay. It's not like totally centered. I'm not too worried about though. Frame 16, I'm going to turn up the twist. So we'll turn angle, drag it up. I'll go to 180. No, we'll go to 120. And then make the keyframe. Okay. So no animation is happening yet with twisting until I go to the very beginning of my animation. Turn the angle back down to 0. I'm going to type it in this time. And then update the keyframe. So you see it blows up, it twists, and then it shrinks back down. At the end here, we need to tell it to go back down to 0. Hit enter, and then update the keyframe. Now I've got an animation with 2 things animating. You know, you can keep stacking things on top of this if you want. I'll go to the middle keyframe. I'll show you how one more works. I like the, what was it? Oh, squash and stretch is kind of cool. Squash and stretch. I'm going to go to a side view here. Excuse me. Squash and stretch relies on the top. See this little thing moving up? So I'm changing the top so that I have the little purple part is at the top. I'm going to choose the bottom. Make sure that's at the bottom. And I believe it's factor. Let's see. Oh, I got to do the parent-child thing. And now when I turn up the factor, you'll see it stretch out. So this is starting to get complicated because I have so many different animations going on. But you can imagine, I'm just going to do a very subtle squash and stretch by turning up the factor to 111. Check that box. Turn this back down to 100 at the beginning. Make the keyframe, and then go to the end. Do the same, going down to 100. So, you know, that one probably wasn't a good idea. I think I probably overdid it, but it did kind of skew it a little bit. And the last thing we need to do is add a material and some lights. So I like to make a light on the inside of the shape, is always fun. One on the inside, one on the outside, although I only ask for 2 total. If you want a light to cast a shadow, with the light selected, you look under where it says shadow, and you can either choose soft or hard shadows, shadow maps or ray traced. And then I just did a plain color for the floor, but to remind you where the materials are, you go into the content browser here on the right. Double click on presets, double click on visualize, double click on materials. I'll grab car paint and drag red car paint onto my shape, like so. And in the next video, I tell you a little bit about like kind of setting up your angle. So imagine like if you're flying through space, how would you frame this shot before you render it? I don't know, you tell me. But I'm going to go back into my objects menu and just kind of show you what we've got. I talk about this in the next video, but if you just want to say render menu, add to render queue, it'll ask you to save the changes, yes. And then you'll click on the play button here to render. If you get an error, you have to change the output file to something different by clicking on the ellipses, choosing Windows C drive, and then going into this miscellaneous folder. Okay, I hope you enjoyed. Once you have that rendered video, you're ready for the next one to combine the audio and video. So hope this helps. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this gave you some ideas. Later.